Okay, so if you missed the first session, as was already said, it's available on YouTube, and I think that link will be shared across soon. So, sorry, this is not okay. Okay, so today we are just going to see how RShiny really works, and you will have a fair share of how it works from your own experimentation. Okay, so numerous resources available, and I think on the video on YouTube has, if you go to the more information or description section, you should have these links also available. Today, you should be able to create a custom Shiny app template, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Some more user input controls, and then look at more output channels and how we can handle user input and reactivity, and also how to lay out our Shiny dashboard as we have it laid out beautifully on the right side. All right, so those are the rest maybe time may not permit us to do them, but yeah, just there for you to know. Okay, so I will switch over to the app. I think we have the app already running. So maybe if you don't believe it, let's go to our R Studio. Okay, so we are using R, and if you are new to this workshop, make sure you have yourself R Studio to make your life easy. Okay, but you can also run R from any other platform or IDE. Okay, but R Studio is the preferred for this workshop. Okay, so I don't know if is the fonts okay for everyone? Yeah. Okay, good. All right, so this is the application you are seeing, and I put this together last night. Okay, I just gave myself that challenge whilst everybody was sleeping. I said, okay, let's see how fast we can develop an app in Shiny. So once you have it like this all laid out, it's just a matter of pushing that run button, and you should see your awesome work. Okay, so we have the Irish awesome dashboard. I don't know, in my opinion, it's awesome, but I don't know what you think. All right, so this is like, I mean, a toy example, but it looks real, okay? And the most important thing is we want to see how information here respond to some user interactions. So by default, it's showing us a scatter plot of the circle width against the circle length of the Irish flower plant. And you see the title here. We also have the alignment of the title. So as I push this, you see what happened? Real time, we're able to align the title. Okay, and that is what we mean by what? Interactivity or interactive web application. So we can see it responded to one of my actions. Let's try changing the x-axis to circle width. And now you can see that there is a perfect relationship. Why? Because you are plotting both the same variable on both axes, okay? And once again, let me reiterate the disclaimer. The assumption is that you already know how to perform all these analyses, okay? And the challenge is, how do you publish or present this output in a way that your users will be happy with, or they'll be able to experiment with different behaviors, okay? So that is the goal for us. And there are materials available if you are new to R. I'll recommend some maybe at the end of the session, but it's a favorite one, at least I can say for now. There is this book called R for Data Science by Hadley Wickham, the chief scientist at R Studio, now POSIT. Okay, so that is it. Let's see, what else can we change? The legend, where is it positioned currently? At the bottom. Okay, so let's say you want it to the right, and it works. Okay, we can have it at the top, and everything works. Okay, or none. There is no. So let's say you want to generate a report, and some some plots, sometimes you don't need the legend, okay? But for this particular plot, the legend is necessary. So there's an option to choose none. And then when everything is good to you, you can click on a button, which we don't have here right now, but it's feasible. You click on that button to generate a report in any format, PDF, HTML, or Word. All right, so that is it. Let's also see, we can remove some species, you see? And now the plot is empty. Good. Now down here, we can also change the data marker, okay? The shape, you see? Everything is working. And we can also increase the size. This may not be so useful, but the idea is to show you how you can customize any output, okay, that you show out there. You have control over everything, and even it even gets it gets more interesting because every plot output also responds to your interactions. Like if I click, I can write codes to respond to my clicks as I'm clicking the plot. Yeah, to even track the coordinates and all that. So there's so much, and I hope this gives you a window into the possibilities, okay, and the capabilities that our Shiny provides to you as a data analyst or data scientist. And then you may also, this is just showing here, we don't have anything much, but to show you that you can also provide a navigation system. So by default, we have this Explorer, okay? You can also provide other navigation systems. So we have a gallery, and the idea is that, okay, we show pretty images, and this will show you how to insert your own image into the app, okay? So here too, maybe you have built your model, you've developed a machine learning model to classify species, and you can also showcase it on the app. So this is to demonstrate. Because I did it overnight, you see, I didn't get a time to do the code, but it's feasible, okay? So the idea is, based on these features, we'll be able to predict the species, and then we provide a summary of the model. Then you can also download data. Okay, so let's say your app can, usually you have data, sometimes it needs some pre-processing. So your app does the pre-processing for your user, and then they need a final pre-processed data. You also have the option to provide them with the option to download it. So here, this feature, we have some data available you can provide to your clients, and with no time, we've been able to download the Irish data sets and into a CSV. Other options are also available, other formats. Okay, so I try to provide as many features as possible. We can also upload files. Okay, right now the app is responding to inbuilt data sets, but we are not limited to that. Okay, you can tap into so many data. And here is an example to upload data. So let's say we can upload, let's try uploading what we just downloaded. Okay, the iris, and it gives you an overview right here. I don't know if you are inspired by this, then just tighten your seatbelts. Okay, you should be able to feel confident to be able to do what I've presented before you. All right, I think it's still ambitious, but it's feasible. Okay. Okay, so how do we start? Now, every Shiny app resides in a folder or directory. Okay, so you begin your app just like any software. You create your app. So what name do you want to give to it? So let's say you can call it Iris app. Okay. And notice something here. Usually in computing, okay, it's good not to leave spaces, even though it might work for you non-programmatically, but programmatically it's always a good idea not to leave spaces. If you still need a space, use a hyphen, okay, in your folder names. So I just call this Iris app. Okay, so as we saw from last week, every Shiny app has a basic structure, okay? Oh, excuse me, what is happening now? Okay, so we saw this basic structure here. You see, so you should be able to define this structure. So we need the user interface, a server, and then a call to this function. So you create your folder, and the minimal thing it can contain is an R script that helps you define that structure. All right, so we are already here. We created this folder. We go back to our R Studio. And for those who are not here last week, there's a quick way to also create an R Shiny app. Just if you are using R Studio, click on this plus sign and then go down to Shiny Web App and put the name here just like I did, like the Iris app. You put the same thing here, choose a single file. If you are developing a very big application, then it will be useful to split your UI into two components. Okay, the UI, sorry, your app into two components, the UI and then the server. Okay, but if you are developing a single application, just choose a single file so that you have everything on one R file. So this option is possible, and then it just, so look at the location, you can also change that. Okay, and you hit create. What it does is it creates a folder for you with the name of the app, and you can run this again. So this is a hello world application that you have, okay, right from the start. So just for the benefit of the first timers. All right, so going back to my development workflow, what I like is create your own folder, okay, give it a name. So I want you to also do it. Okay, so create that folder. You can call it anything. I called my Iris app. Okay, now back to your R Studio. So here, let me clear this. Now, just like you do in any R development, you need a script. Okay, so just go back to the green plus button, click on the down arrow and choose R scripts, and then hit Control S if you are on Windows or Command S on Mac to save that file. So we are saving it now, point it, so you choose your location as usual, you provide a name. So by default, Shiny recognize R files that are named with this app, okay? App.r, but you can call it anything. Okay, so let's just call it app.r, and this make it easy to run Shiny from that directory, okay? But you can give it any name. So let's use this app.r, and then just hit save. So we have our blank script waiting for us, okay? It's waiting for our input. This is our goal. Now, if you notice, so here, if you have this, load the library of Shiny. Okay, once you load it, it will expose all the functions, available functions, so that as you type, they will be made available to you. So now, we saw from last week that to create your app, you need to define the HTML body. And one of the ways to do that is the fluid page. Okay, so you do this, then the next thing is define the server logic. And also you can use any name, let's call it backend. Okay, so this is the backend. And this is a custom function that you create, okay, like how you create any function. And you give it these attributes, input, output. Okay, and then there is a session, but we don't need it, so we just take that one out. Then the last thing you do is run the application. Okay, so how do you run the application? This is where you start using a function, another function from Shiny. So you see, if you loaded a package, it will suggest things for you. So as soon as the IntelliSense will be invoked, okay, when you start typing. So Shiny app, and the first argument is a UI. You assign it to the name of your UI. In this case, we are calling our UI what? Front end. So you just put that there. And the next argument is the server, okay? And we provide our server. In this case, we are calling it back end. Yes. So this is the minimal structure of a Shiny application. If you have this, and maybe just to make sure that your app is working, you can provide a title panel, okay, and put in maybe hello world. Okay, so let's say hello world, like that. So you make sure this template is working before you use it as the basis of other future apps, you see? So it's working. Now, we just created a Shiny app. So make sure you have this defined. Okay, we are not leaving anyone behind. So this is the basic structure we saw last week. So quickly, if you don't have it, try typing it. Okay, and make sure you have loaded the Shiny so that it makes the typing easy. Any question at this point? Okay, then the second thing, when you are developing, you notice that I loaded the app in my browser. Okay, look, but when you are developing, you are now experimenting with things. So it's good to target the output to your RStudio development, and you have an option to do that. Just go to the Run App button, click on that. It gives you this menu, choose Run in Viewer pane, okay? So you choose that and it targets the app here. So if you go back to the demo app I have, you see it's able to load everything here. And you can give it more room to breathe, like that, okay? So that it's easy to experiment. Then when, after you develop a lot, good functionality, you can always go back here and run external, okay? Run external or run in window. All right, so if you did this, you should be having something like that. Hello world. And we want to get here, okay? We want to get here. We are learning by doing, okay? We explained most of the things last week. All right, so the first thing you do is what? Conceptualizing the idea. So how do you want your app to look? And at that point, you need a pencil and a paper or an iPad, okay, to sketch. Don't be tempted to come here. Okay, if you come to your app studio, you only be looking into the sky. Okay, there's nothing there. The sky is just blue. So maybe you can just put blue there and your app will be blue. So the takeaway is what? Design, spend some time to design the app. You don't have to figure out everything. Okay, get something enough to get you started. And as you continue developing, okay, other ideas will be coming to mind. And this is not limited to RShine, even in all your other data analysis work. Sit down and think about the application you are developing first, okay? You don't have to have everything 100%, but the minimum requirement, make sure you have figured it out and all the design choices. Okay, good. So when I started, I did the same thing. Okay, what do I want? Well, I want to provide a banner that greets the user. And this is pulling the name of who is currently logging into this computer. Okay, so that was my design choice. And I want to provide a title that says Iris Flower Dashboard. Your design choice. What name are you going to give to the app? What title? Okay. And then I said I'll provide these navigations, and within each navigation, I want to have a side panel and then a main body, and then a footer section. This thing I think is standing my way. Is there a way to? Okay. So I said I want a footer session that showcases information about the developer. Okay. So think about all of that and what you want the app to do. So we assume that we have already gone through that stage. It is very important part of your workflow. Okay, that's why I'm emphasizing. Good. So once we have that in mind, now today I have it here for us. So we can look on it and start coding. So this could be something on a piece of paper or on your iPad. Then you now transfer it into code. So let's see how we can use the knowledge we have about Shiny to flesh this out. So Shiny has what is called layouts. Okay, you have to lay out the page, decide on which section, which part of the app you want to display your content. And that is what we mean by the layout. So Shiny has some defaults to help you. Let me undo what I just did. So instead of hello world, now we give it the actual name of the application. And we decided to call it what? Iris Flower Dashboard. Like that. Okay, so we set that one up. So declare your title. Documentation is very, very important. Okay, declare app title like that. You can comment, use the hash sign to comment just like you comment in your R script. Then the next thing you do is what? We define, so we have our title. What do we do next? Okay, so declare the body. So the body of application from this design should have what? We should have some two main sessions, which we did last week. We are utilizing what we did from last week. Okay, so if you remember what we did, we used the sidebar navigation. Okay, so our Shiny has a function. Before I continue, the UI will be laid out using what? Functions that are provided out of the box from Shiny. Okay, the underlying structure is HTML. If you know HTML, you can create your own layouts. But for the stats, okay, and to reduce our work, our Shiny ships with what? A lot of functions to help you lay out the page. So one useful one is the sidebar layout. So you type that function like this. And you can see here, our studio is prompting me that there is an error, unexpected something. So what it means is that in the UI part of your app, you have to separate multiple functions with the comma. Okay, so if you have more than one function here, you see before when I just had a title, it didn't cry on me. But when I went ahead to bring this, now it started crying. Because it needs this. This is part of the centers, okay? The Shiny centers, part of the UI. All right. Then inside the layout, you have the ability to also nest functions within functions. As you can see, we have already nested these two functions inside the main fluid page. Okay, nesting. Now, inside the sidebar layout, we can also nest, and it also ships with something called sidebar panel. Okay, we need a function so you can cycle through the options. Cycle through. I'm just pressing the up and down arrows to cycle through the options. I need a panel. You hit to complete. Okay. And now you see I'm indenting everything for clarity. The next thing, so this is going to give us the panel with the variable name, the title, and all that. Now we need another section for the plot. And that one is another function we have to nest inside the layout. So as I said before, you need a comma because now this function is going to take more than two functions. Okay, already there was only one. If there is one, it's enough. You don't need to bring in a comma. But I want to declare another one here. Okay, the main. And Shiny has what? Another function called main panel. So you do that. So this is what's going to contain the plot. Now inside here, we'll come back to it. Okay, so I want you to just have a look. So this is the structure of a sidebar layout. So make sure you have this. We'll be using this often. So this is what I'm going to do. I'll copy this because when I add other things, it will be difficult for me to copy. So I'll copy this, put it on my work board. So here, I'll need it later, okay? Now I'm back to my RStudio. I'll cut everything because I want to introduce another concept. The navigation here is provided by what is called tab sets panels, okay? So if you look at this UI, the tab set panel is the main. So look at it, view the structure. We need to provide the main. The sidebar layouts will give us the division. Okay, so let's start with the tab panel. If you loaded Shiny, it should suggest it for you. It's called tab set panel. We want to provide the navigation. And within the tab set panel, you can nest other functions to create a various navigation menu. So how do you do that? There is another function called tab. So you use the tab panel. Okay. So each one of these, explore, gallery, classify, they were all defined using the tab panel. And I'm going to put a lot of things here. So I just open it up like that. Okay. Now, what do I want to do? Every tab panel should have a name. If you are confused about what a function accepts, this is just like any R package. Okay, so once the package is loaded, Shiny is loaded, you can come to your hub here and type the name. So the name of the function, let's say you are curious, you want to know more about this function. You type it in the hub. It gives you the documentation. Okay, so it tells you that the tab panel has a title. This is a skill you should cultivate, okay? It will help you. A lot of things, you learn them through the documentation, okay? Don't be overwhelmed. All right, when it comes to developing applications, oftentimes when you introduce it to people, they get overwhelmed because they be like, William, how am I supposed to remember all these many things? Trust me, you don't have to remember all of them from the start. But as you keep on developing applications, they become second to nature. Then you can type them without even using the R IntelliSense, the suggestions for you. So what is most important is that you know the basics, okay? And you know where to go for resources. When you are developing your application, maybe you are in a company, your boss is not going to restrict you. Your boss, this is not an examination. Your boss is not going to tell you, you are not allowed to Google. No, Stack Overflow, so many resources are out there. But the most important thing is what? Knowing what you need. So from today, if nothing at all, you know that there is a package in R called Shiny. And even if I end the session for any reason, you should be able to go out there and create something small for yourself because you know the Shiny package and you can explore so many things about it online. And again, I also introduce you to the POSIT. Okay, you go to POSIT R Shiny, They have a lot of resources as I attached to the video on YouTube. So the most important thing is knowing what to do. It is the major step, the biggest step in every solution. Don't be overwhelmed by the end goal. Okay? You can reference. You can just go to that Shiny, go there, and you have access to all that I'm typing in front of you today. You can just go to Shiny. You go to Shiny. Let me use this Shiny gallery. It will take me there. I just want to go to pause it. So you go to pause it and look here. Getting started. It will walk you through. Okay. And if you need some application to start with, you go to the gallery. There's a feature demo. Okay. There's a user showcase which gives you full-blown application that you can even learn from. You can even get the code and customize. Okay, so knowing where to go, it's the biggest. Knowing what to do and where to go, resources is the biggest thing. Okay, so don't be overwhelmed. And another useful resource is here inside your RStudio. So you type this, it tells you so much about the tab panel. So you see, you can read. But today I'm here to be your resource person. Okay? But the good thing is you know how to get things for yourself, because I can't teach everything. I can't showcase everything. But what I want you to take from today is that once you know Shiny, you can figure out most of the things as you develop. And as you are developing, maybe this gallery will be one window on your computer. You can come back to a showcase, feature demo. You click on any of them. It gives you the code. You can copy it. Okay, and I'll show you that even those demos, the codes are available in RStudio. We'll use them pretty soon. Okay, so be confident that you are here today. Okay, don't be overwhelmed by the many things I just typed. Okay? I know the feeling when I started. That's why I'm stressing on that. All right, so the tab panel, now we know that the first one is the title. So if you go back to the viewer, the title is what we are going to use to define the Explore, whatever name you want to provide as the endpoint, okay, to that panel. So we called it Explore. Today I'm here, I've already designed it. I've done the design choices. So we know that we can put Explore here. Then you bring a comma, okay? The rest of the panel can be any element. You can nest any other thing. That's what is going to define the full page for you. After the title, the rest is options to define the page for you. So how do you want each page to be? Within every page, we want a sidebar. Okay, that's why I copied the sidebar code. We'll be nesting it inside the tab panel. Look at the structure very well. Okay, so we are defining the UI. The tab set panel. Tab panel. Inside the tab panel, you decide how to break down that page. So we are going to use the sidebar layout I did before. So I'll just paste the code here. Okay, if you copied it somewhere, save. I copied mine here. You can come back and just copy it, okay, to help speed up your development. All right, so we have this. Now it's good to view what you have done. Don't do too many things without running. Okay, you have headache. Even if there are going to be errors, the error should be incremental. Okay, so do it incrementally. We've done enough, we can preview it. Look. You see? All right, so let's speed up. If you followed me, you should be able to have this. Now there's only one. Let's go ahead and copy this, okay? This is no examination room. And whoever brought the copy and paste, I think it's the most useful thing in the world, in computing. Okay, so please utilize it. So look at the structure. I have my first Explorer, okay? So you can document, this is the Explore session. okay, or explore page. You can think of it as a page. Okay, so this is the explore page. Now, if you are lost, you have to know where the function, the main tab panel starts and ends. Okay, so click the opening parenthesis. Okay, it tells me that the panel ends here. I want to create another panel. Okay, so just know where the last one ends. It's here. You can click. You see how R shiny is telling you. Once you are confident, copy that. We are just going to duplicate it. And then you stand at the end of the first panel. You step down, okay, for readability. I'm giving this white space for readability. So what should be the next one? We said what? A gallery, right? So this is the gallery section or page. And it's the same structure. So we just paste what we copied. Okay. And what we have to do is just change the title of the panel to what? Gallery. You have your structure. You see, it's now coming up. Look. So duplicate it again until you have the full app navigation. Okay, so we have what? 1, 2, 3 more. Classify, download, and file upload. Okay, so I'll make it, to make it easy, I'll just rerun this app so that we see it as we develop. So back to this app. Let me close this so it doesn't confuse us. Okay, so you see the structure. We are developing it step by step. And within every panel, we are going to have the same structure. So I'll just copy this again. Okay, I think I already copied it. Track where that last panel ends inside the tab panel. You may lose focus as the app increases in size. Okay, there are ways to break it down into modules, but that one is up for another day, okay? But today, just track where each one ends. So my last panel ends here. Remember, multiple UI elements, separate them by commas, and then I'll paste. What is the name? I said, well, classify iris, or you can just say iris classification, okay? Anything, iris classification. You can call it anything. It's up to you. That's the design choice. All right. Then we track where the last panel ends again. We separate the UI with a comma and we paste. What name should we give it? It says what? Data download. Okay, you just said data. So I'm going to call it downloader. Okay, I'm just changing some of the names to tell you that it's up to you how you decide to call things. So I'm calling data downloader. Okay, then I think there's a last one. So instead of typing, I just paste the same thing again. And the name I give to it is what? File upload. Like that. Now, if you reload, you have this. You see the app is coming. Good. All right. So back to the app, back to the codes we are writing. Okay, if you are not able to type, no worries, but follow the logic, the flow, okay, the workflow. This code, I'm going to upload it to my GitHub repository, okay, so that I can download it directly. But if you can follow along, that's also good. Okay, but understand how I'm going about this. I started with a blank page, and now look at what we have. If we give this to you, you feel so overwhelmed, but you can see that incrementally, it's feasible, okay? Just know the various pieces. All right, so we have everything laid out. The next thing is to put in the content. We have defined the layout. The layout is ready. I can tell you confidently. Oh, we are missing one last part. I lied. Okay. So we have the footer section. This appears on every page. Look, when I click gallery, the footer information is there. So how do we do that? We still go back to the UI. You are not limited to this design, okay? Just come up with your own structure, your own layout, and Shiny has the functions to help you. All right, so my footer should show on every other page. So which means it should be outside the tab panel, okay? The tab set panel, this one. So come and click the opening one and track the closing. So it ends here. Now I'm going to have, this is a multiple thing inside the main fluid page. So I bring a comma and I define my footer section, okay? This is the footer. It's just a row. So remember last week we learned there's something called fluid row. So you type that one, fluid row. And our Shiny uses a grid system, okay? Which gives you like 12 grid points. So inside this fluid row, you can see that how many times did I divide it? There are 3 main sessions. If you look at this, my name, a link to my YouTube channel, and a link to my GitHub. So those are 3 main. So you picture it. Now, how do you break this row? This is horizontal. So we need some vertical divisions. And remember, we learned that there is a function called column that helps you divide. Okay, and this column has available 12 endpoints. So you can choose the number. Okay, I want this column to occupy because there are 3 sessions and I know I have 12 grids. You just do the simple math, which means each grid should be what? 4, right? We're dividing 12 into 3. So I'll just give it 4. And you bring a comma just like any other UI function. So if you are confused, go back to the help, type column, okay? It will show you the documentation. It tells you that the first one is the width, and the width is what we are defining. There's a 12 grid available to you, okay? You use that. And then the rest is the content you want to showcase. So what do you want to put here? I want to put my name. Okay, so I just said William, like William Japan, and then I said what? All rights reserved. This will not work. You see, it's giving me errors. Every text must be in a quotation mark. Okay. But you can place it in, let's say, let me place it in H3. These are header functions we saw last week. Header functions to help you create title looking text. Okay, I want you to apply some boldness and some font size. So I just use H3. You have H1 all the way to H6. And the font size decreases as you go down. Okay, so I want to use H3. And then you quote any text you provide. Quote it. So I said, all rights reserved. Like that, okay? We put that there. Now, we need 3. So you call the column again. Remember, we are dividing it into 3. So each one will take 4 space. And then you provide whatever you want. So some dummy text. Okay, just put whatever you want. Then we create the last one. So that's how you design your UI, okay? After sketching it out. So that is it. So dummy test, I'll just say dummy test 1, dummy test 2. So we have that. I'll share this code too, okay? So don't be frustrated. I'll share this code, but I want you to understand what went into it, okay? I'll share this code, this full blown up if you are not able to develop every feature. Yes?
Can you provide a logic of the division using like you showed us the app, right?
Oh, okay. So here, see the app. Let me refresh it. Okay. So she's talking about the division. You can see that this app has been divided in so many ways. Now, the division is inspired by what is called a grid system, okay? Next, the last session, I'll introduce what we call like themes, and then I'll mention a library. But for now, just understand that it is inspired by a grid system, which divides the page vertically into 12. So after you define a row, every row can be divided into 12 pieces, 12 boxes. Okay, so I know that beforehand, that every row I define, for example, for the footer section here, there are 12 grid points. And I want to put 3 contents. So how can I easily divide it? It's just a matter of what? 12 divided by 3. And that gives you 4. So which means I'll lump 4 grid boxes together for each session. Okay, so if you want to make it half, just 6 by 6. If you just want only 2 sections, 6 by 6. So that's how the grid system works. Does that clear things up for you? Okay, thank you. Good. So let's reload the app. And you see, it's not looking as pretty. Good. So from here, I'll tell you that we have been able to define the layout, the same layout we have here. Everything. The rest is what? Your choice of color and your choice of aesthetics. So how do you do that? So to be able to do this, there is something called CSS, okay? You know, it's a web development concept, cascading style sheet, but our Shiny makes it simple. Already, it has applied some colors. If you run the app, you can see that these links are in blue. They apply some color. You can also define your own color. So how do you do that? I will recommend, okay, if you want to know more, go to W3 Scoops, HTML. Okay, but you don't need all of that. W3 Scoops. Okay, just type HTML. Oh, what is happening? HTML. Okay. And the way to beautify your app is through what is called CSS. Okay, so you click on CSS, it will tell you all the things you need to know. Okay, but you don't need all of that. Okay, so the simplest thing I will do today is apply some basic CSS. So for example, I think we are missing something here. The title is supposed to be inside a header. So let's define a header. Just give a row, and we have seen that we use fluid row. Okay, separate with a comma, and then we decide. So I divided this one to, okay, my design choice. I divided this into 2. So if I have 12, I'll just apportion 6 for each, and I can put my title panel here. Okay, then the next one, we define a column. We give it a 6. Oh, okay, let's give this part 8 and this part 4. Yeah, the design choice. I think I want this to be first, so that will be 4, and then this comes down here. So I'd rather put this title. Oh, my bad. Yes, right here. And this is where it says welcome. So I'll just call some of the header functions and quote any test you want to pass. So I'll just say welcome, welcome, maybe William, but the app dynamically picks the name. We don't have time to do that. So this to give me the minimum, okay? So you see, we can view it in external, and it's looking just like what I have, okay, here. It's just the color and the output. So let's go and put in more. So you can see that the full bar has what? A color of purple. And you can change the colors by targeting most of the functions, okay? Most of the UI functions have an attribute called style. So you assign the style. If you know a bit of web development, you know why it is called style, okay? But as the style just helps you apply some beauty, okay? So style, what do you want? There are commands. If you go to the V3 schools, it will tell you, if you want to change the background color, it will show you the code. If you want to change the text color, it will show you the code. The text size, font weight, it will show you all of that. So to change the color of the text, you see the color of the text should be white. So you just declare color, you bring a color, and then you say white. HTML understands most keywords, okay? There are codes-defined colors, but for most colors, the primary colors and a few secondary ones, the name is enough. Then I can also declare what is called background color. Okay, what background? We said it's purple. And remember, separate every declaration. Okay, this is a full declaration. The keyword and then the value. The keyword and the value. And you separate each with what? A semicolon. And by convention, it's always good practice to end even the last one with a semicolon. So when I run this up, you see, it's coming. Now we go back. We can copy the same thing to copy the style. Remember to bring a comma, okay? This style attribute, it's an element you are providing to the fluid row, which already have what? 2 columns nested. So look at how I brought a comma here. We go to the footer section. We can give it the same thing, okay? So if you save it, you run up, now your footer is looking like this. So now you believe that what? You have control over everything. Everything. All right, so we have a few minutes. Let's now use it to dive into some of the interactivities. So our app is running. Let me change the view to viewer. Yes. So the Explore, what do we have? Let's go to the Explore. That's why we give it names. If you are lost in your app, just do Control F or Command F to find. And then we look for the Explore. It will take us to that session. Then we can declare whatever we want. So what do we want? We want to provide what? The variables to choose, okay? So these are used, you use what is called like input control, okay? Input control. You can learn more from the Shiny app, the Posit Shiny. You go to their reference, okay? You go to reference. There are various versions. The latest one, click function reference, okay? And you have available all the functions with all the documentation. Or you can also go to articles. And then down here, there's a front-end user interface. Okay, there are so many things. The application layout, you can learn more. The tab sets we use, You can learn more. Customize your UI. Okay. The user controls. If you dig deep, you should find the user controls. Okay. But I'm going to introduce you to some of them, but all of them are available online. So there is a var select. Okay. We want to provide the user with the ability to choose what? Look, we want them to choose the various variables available in our data sets. So if you want your user to have access to variables coming from your data sets, you use what is called the var select input. Okay? All right. So at this point, I think it will be useful to walk you through the app here. So we went through step by step to build your confidence. Okay? Build your confidence. Okay, wait, what is happening? Okay, it tells me error. Can you see? It's not running because I put something there. Okay. So let me just comment it, Control-Shift-C. And then we try running again. So my goal was to build up your confidence and to show you that everything is feasible. Okay. Now to explore more of the functionalities, how they were developed, you can see that things are not looking perfect. Okay. You can use code. So I'm going to walk you through the full-blown app for the few minutes that we have. Any question at this point? All right, if there are no questions, I'll load the full-blown app, which is just like what we started with, okay? What we are trying to design. Now, let me change the viewing source to the pane, the viewer pane right here, and give it more room to breathe. Run that. Okay, so to design the Explorer page, all that we need is what? This input control. So this is what is called the var select input. So let me search through the Explorer. Okay, let's search through Explore. If you come to the Explore session, this code will be made available to you. So inside the Explore session, just as we laid out, you can see the tab panel, everything. Now, there is this thing called a var select input. You use this option when you want to make available names of a data set to the user, just like we have here. These are coming from the Irish data. So use a var select input control. Okay. And then every input control has an ID. This is a name that you are going to use to track the value that was provided in the server session, which we'll see briefly. Then the next thing is what? The label. If you are confused, again, go to your hub, type what? var, once you have the Shiny app loaded, type the input name, var select input, click on that, it will load the documentation. Every input has this structure. There is an input ID, which must be unique. Don't provide different inputs with the same name. It will give you error. So it must be unique, just as it says, an ID. Then the label. A label is what we want to showcase to the user. And it takes the data. So the data here, I'm providing Irish data from the R session. If you install R, you already have this data available to you. But this could be a data that you allow the user to even upload. Okay, so just know the structure. And then by default, what do you want to be selected? So this thing is smart enough to pick the Irish data and extract all the column names. So, and put it into a vector. Okay, so that vector is going to populate this control here. Now you have the option to choose which one shows up first by default. If you don't choose anything, it will use the first element in the list or in the vector. But you have the option. Okay, so if you look here, I just did some programming. I said what? Num vals. Num vals is what? Right here. You can do any R coding before, some pre-processing of your data. So I'm extracting the variable names to make it easy for me. Okay, and then I'm extracting only the numeric variables. That's what I'm calling num vals. Okay, like numeric variables. So you go back there, and that's exactly what I'm providing here, choosing the first element, which is the sepal length. So this whole code gives you everything from here. And you see, I called it x-axis variable. You do the same thing, a similar thing for the y-axis. Over there too, you want the user to select from the column names. So you provide the name of the data, and then whatever default selection, you specify the default selection. And by default, I choose the second in the list, which is sepal width. And the rest will also be available. Okay, so you can see that if you are familiar with the Irish, there are 5 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are all made available through the data that we supplied. Okay, so when you have the code, you understand why I did this. Now, the next section is this HR. It's called horizontal rule. You don't need it. It's not even visible because the color is the same as the background, but it's just divide the section. I want to separate the x-axis variables from the y or from the title. Okay, so just put that one there. Now, the next thing, as we saw the last time, you can also provide a free test. A free test is anything. Over here, if you look at the x-axis variable and the y-axis, the user can only choose from these available options. And they are coming from a data set. So if that's what you want, you use the var select input. But if you want a free test, like this one, I can change the title of the app. Let's just delete this. You can see that I removed the attribute and it responded. Okay, so this is a free test. I can add more, okay, some title you like. And the app will update. Okay, so that free test. If you want that free test, there's a function called text input. So all these things, options that we are providing for the user, they are called the input control, user input control. And there are different functions to do specific control or define specific control. Okay, so that takes care of the title. And then I have this slider here, which helps me align the title. And the slider, to get that slider, you call a slider input. Okay, so the slider input will do this for you. And if you don't know how to provide, once again, invoke the documentation. It will tell you all these things. You don't have to have them off head. Just know that you need a user control. So from today, even if you don't know anything, you can just go online. rshiny, upload file, rshiny, tests, rshiny, numeric value, input, add input to it, rshiny, slider input, like something, you see that the code will pop up for you, okay? Now, the next thing is what? If you go back to the app, we have this filter by species, and we are supplying some options. So if you want these options, you can even use the drop down like this. It's up to you what you want the user to do. Okay, here, I want them to be able to choose multiple at a time. And this is a quick way. So you can use the input control, checkbox group inputs. There's also a function called checkbox inputs, but that one is for, I think, just logical. Okay, yes or no. But here, if you want multiple, call this function. And once again, if you are lost as to how to set it up, get the name of the function, put it in the helper, okay? And the documentation will pull up. You can see everything I define here is, the first one is my ID. The next one is my label to show the user, instruction to the user. The choices is the option I want to make available. And I'm just picking my Irish data. and I'm taking the unique species. The selected value, I want what? All of them. Which one do you want to select by default? I said selected all the species. So you can see that when the app first loads, it selects all the species and they show in the app. Good. So that's another user control. There is one called select inputs. We already saw it. It's similar to the var select input. They all provide a drop down. The difference is that you use a var select input when your target is a variable coming from a data set. Else there might be some programming challenges. That's why they have the special function. But you can as well use the test input, and there's a way to go around it. But this is the quickest way, okay? All right, so you just call select inputs. You provide your ID. The name you want to show, we call it what? Legend position. Provide the options. Here are the choices. And whichever one you want to be up, I just brought that one first. So by default, the legend shows at the bottom. You see? So that explains the explore. Now, once you have defined all these things, it will only give you the UI. But you have to be able to include the reactivity. The input should be able to communicate with the outputs. Okay, and that one is done through what is called reactive programming. Okay, there is imperative programming, don't worry about that. Just know that it's a way for R Shiny to be able to communicate with what? Your inputs and your outputs. So how do we do that? So you provide what is called an output endpoint. So we have seen inputs, how we define the inputs. So we need an output endpoint. And by output, I'm talking about example, like the table, the plot here we saw last week. It could be a table. So how do you define the output endpoint? R Shiny has a function called output something. So if it's a test, you call it test output. So the one we use for plots or graphics, the basic one is called plot output. Okay. So let's track where this plot output is. So we define that in the Explorer. Inside the main panel, remember the logic we started with. We have a sidebar which contains our user inputs and the main panel which displays the outputs. So inside the main output, you can see that we have plot output. This is a function from R Shiny. If you do plot output, you see it pops up. You use this to target plots, okay? Or inject or insert plots into your app. Once again, you give it a name. You can also look up the documentation, okay? You provided an ID. So when you do that, it's not going to show any plots. You have to handle, this plot is created in R. So the R part of your application, okay, the application logic to handle the user interactivity is handled by the back end, which we are calling the server. So inside here, we have an input and output. You use this input list to store or extract whatever the user supplies. Once the app loads, you don't have to worry about how it works. Once the app loads, all the options here that the user is able to choose from, they will all be available in this argument provided to the backend function. And it's a list, as we saw from last time. So how do you extract the list? So you just know the name of the element inside the list, just as you do in R. So my input will have something called X variable, something called Y variable by the name I provided for the ID. If you go up, you see the IDs. Okay, I call this ID data sets. I can extract it from the input. I call this pedal width. I can extract it just like that. So just remember the names you provided. And it is good to provide useful names so that when you are down there in the server, you don't have to come up looking up the names, okay? So that is how that part works, the connection between the inputs and the output. So I just call this output. Remember the name. So the first one I'm doing, I'm preparing the data. And this is where the programming starts. Okay, to do any programming inside the backend, to be sent to the UI, you put it inside this backend or server function. And there's a notion of what is called reactive expression. Everything you want to be dynamically changed, we provide that in a reactive environment. And some of the common reactive environments are the rendering endpoints. Okay, so if you provide, as we saw last week, if you provide the plot output, it must have a corresponding render endpoint, which is called render plots. Okay, so that's why we have this render plot here. And inside it, you can do your usual R code to generate the plot. So this is not part of the R Shiny. It's just how you develop your plots like before in R. Just put the code in a reactive environment. You can search R Shiny reactive. They will show you all the various endpoints for sending data back to your app. So this is what handles the plot. Remember the ID. So you pick your output from the function and you store what we created. Remember, this is the ID. So the name of the ID is just a list. So you extract it using the $sign. This is our general R syntax. You are creating like a list element, okay? You assign it to the endpoint and all your code should be inside the endpoint. So it starts from here and ends here. Okay, what is inside is just the normal way you create your plot. If you don't want to use ggplot, you can use the base R functions to create your plot. All right, then how are the various parts changing? So instead of, there's one key, if you are using ggplot, there's some technical things. So remember to bring this syntax, okay? Hyphen, hyphen. If you are used to programming ggplots, you know this already, okay? But because we want ggplot to be able to see the variable name from the R session, it is necessary to bring this double exclamation, okay? But other ones, you don't need them. If it is the name of a variable from a data frame, you need it before it can work in ggplot. But in base R, you don't need that, okay? So that's how we are providing the X var. Then we provide the Y var. The color, by default, we color by the species. And the size of the plot, this is where I'm extracting the user input. I called it shape size, that's the ID. So I pick the input list, and then I extract by the ID name. Input list, I extract by the ID name. All of them, the plot of the title, I created a title here. I give it an ID plot title. The same, okay? So that's how you can provide the user with some interactivity. So you see the legend, I put the legend code here. Just pick your input. How did you call it in the UI? The legend, where is the legend? Here, I gave it an ID called legend position. And these things will be available. You see how the app is responding. Yeah, and the plot title, that this is where the alignment happens. The slider, I gave it an ID title align, and you extract it like that. If you don't put it inside a reactive environment, it will not work. So this is a default reactive environment created for plotting. There's another one for data. Okay, if you want to render data, you create a table output in the UI, and then you target it in the server with a render table. There are more rendering functions you can see on the R reference documentation, R Shiny reference documentation. Okay, so that's how we add all the interactivities, and the rest follow in a similar manner. Okay, so that is it. You see how we were able to create. Now you understand. You first define your UI, all the controls you want to provide to the user. give them IDs, target them, and the server will display your output to the user. And again, it can respond to user selections. Okay, like that. Yes. So the rest follows the same logic. This is just inserting an image. So you go to where you define your gallery. You just search, press Ctrl F, gallery. Okay, you go to gallery, the same structure we defined. We divide, you see, I'm giving 3 sections for the images. And here, to be able to upload an image, make sure your image is saved in a directory called, let's look at the structure of the UI. Another technical thing you should note, for it to be easy to insert image and other files, RShiny came up with this logic. You create a folder called www, and you put your files. You can see the images I'm showcasing. And the good thing is, anything you put here is exposed to R. You don't have to struggle. You see, sometimes when you are downloading or importing data sets in R, you have to remember the full URL. It is the same thing. So to make it easy for RShiny to reference your resource, put those resources in www folder inside your app. So my main app is called Part 2. So if you go to the Iris app, you make sure you have this word, www, and you can go online and download your Iris flowers. Yes. Okay. So that's one thing you should know about inserting images. Then the next thing you ask yourself, what function? So from today, everything is a function. What function do I use? Just go online, RShiny, insert image. It gives you this function. Then you provide the name with the extension. So if you go back to the flowers I showed you, they all have the extension JPEG. And R will be able to see the image because we put it in the www folder. Yeah. Any question? So our time is up. Unfortunately, we have just 1.5 hours. And I think we started some minutes into the session. So I will stop here and invite questions from you. But I believe that from today, you feel confident about developing your own RShiny. It's just a matter of what? Practicing and knowing more functions. The basic logic, once again, is what? Define your UI, define your server, and then bind the inputs to your outputs, just as I explained. So the code will be made available to you. And if you have any question when you are going through on your own, feel free to shoot me an email. And whenever I'm available, we can chat about whatever challenge you have. Okay, so make sure you're able to create this. When you go back home, the code will be there for you for reference, but try. Okay, you can go to the RShiny search. Okay, so now we know that we need inputs, we need outputs, and it's just the control panels. The control functions that you need. And that's all I did. Okay, step by step, step by step. Okay. If there are no questions, I would like to borrow 2 minutes of your time to show you something useful.
What did you say the HR function?
The HR is just horizontal rule. Like sometimes you just want to draw a line in between 2 different sessions. Okay, so it just define a horizontal line.
Like it's space.
Yes, if you go back to the app, right here, it's not all that visible. Okay, but you can see there's an imaginary line here. Can you see? That is defined by the HR. So this is, I put it there. You see, you are struggling to see. This is part of the design choices. So clearly, if you are going for a background with this color, then if you want to provide some explicit divisions using the horizontal rule, then you have to change the color. Okay, so these are some of the design choices. So you need a color that will be easy to notice. Okay, so that is just what it does. Now, a quick thing I want to show you. If you go about developing the app, let me end this session. R Shiny comes with those examples I showed on the POSIT website. They have them here. There's a function provided in R Shiny called run example. So just call this function run example, hit enter, because they know that you feel overwhelmed. So they give you something to start with. So just call the function as I did. It will show you the available examples and widgets that you can plug directly into your app. Okay, so one that I use is the file upload. You don't have to write any code. Copy this one, file upload, and call your run example again. Paste the name of the app. They have developed some apps, hit run. You see, it run the app for you. This is their app. Browse, you see, it can upload and it's working just like what I had. You can copy the code here. Okay, so this is how we laid out. You see, remember how we laid out, go through, find out where everything starts. You see, you can just copy it like that and plug it into your UI. Just like that. And then you can customize it. So you go back to what we started with. You search for the file upload, you can put it in the sidebar panel like this to give you the UI. And then you run that. You see that if you go to the file upload, see. And then you can also go back and copy the code to help you bind the interactions. So this app is dead. So go back. Let's target the pin here so that it will be easy. Okay, end the session. Run the example again. Okay, now the app is here, the code. So we've already copied the UI part. You can copy the server part. Okay, so the server part starts from here. They call the server, we call ours back end. You see? So this is how they are targeted. You pick the output, the ID. You can copy everything, track where it ends. So render table. So I'll just copy everything up to, you can just plug these widgets into your app. And later when you become more skillful with Shiny, you can create your own custom ones. Okay, so I copy that. I come back to my app. I do the file upload. So this is giving me the UI. That's why it's good to provide descriptive names, okay? So if you go back to your back end, we don't have any endpoints. So I will just comment, file upload, and paste the code here like that. You save it. Let's rerun our app. Now, if you go to the file upload, you see now this is available here. Let's run it in external. You go to file upload. You see something is missing. We didn't copy all. So let's go back. Yeah, I'm just demonstrating something for you to know that you are not handicapped, okay? You can even get useful tips right straight from R. So let's run the example again. And then we have access to the UI. So the UI, we are missing this part, okay? We didn't copy this part. So let me just copy that, go back to our app, search file, make use of the search. It's still running, let's stop it. Control F, file upload. Okay, so before this, we should have provided a way for the user to select. And all you need is a file input, the input that I explained, and they have it here. So now, if you run the app again, file upload, it should be working. So send it to external, run external, file upload, this, iris. Okay, so it's complete, but it's not showing. It's because maybe there's some error. Okay, sometimes this happens. You just go back to your server and everything looks okay. So let's save again, run, file upload. Yes, but you get the point. Okay, it works, and the one the code I'll show to you, I just copied it from there to showcase it to you. And the download, the same thing. You can use the example code if you want to download a file and customize the content. I use the same thing and I customize the content. So you just run without anything. It shows you all the widgets available. You can see there's one called download. You just do copy, run again, you paste that, and then it gives you this. You track the code. From today, you have learned that you need a UI endpoint. So you go through the UI fluid page, locate where it starts. Input starts from here. You select everything. Okay. So I think, yeah, I know we are missing something here. Okay. So just copy all this. You plug it in your app, it should work. All right. Just demonstrating a useful feature for you. So let's go back to what I plugged in. So this is the file upload. The reason why it's not showing anything is because in the main panel, we don't have any output endpoint. So we need to provide the output endpoint. And for file upload, we said we are rendering to a table. So you just say table output, and they gave it an ID. You go back to the server, the ID is called content. So I just go back to my main panel for the file upload and provide the content as an ID. Now, if you run it and everything is fine, file upload, it should work in our app, you see. Yeah, so that is a useful feature I wanted to show you. And with the help of that, you can plug in pre-existing code and customize it. Okay, if you look at the UI I presented to you, I use the same code and I customized it. Okay, if you look at my file download, it's the same thing. I just customized the data I want. So I put iris, empty cars, pressure cars. These are all coming from R. It could be any other data you upload to your app. And the same thing here. Okay. Yeah, so this brings us to the end. We're able to walk through the various parts of the app, but time did not really allow us to dive deeper into some of the key elements. But I hope this was enough motivation to help you get started developing your own customized Shiny applications. Thank you.